All right, so before we get into learning the left hand, let's review the value, which is the time of the notes. So we had in the last episode, we went over the quarter note, which gets 1 second. So if we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, sorry. And then we had the half note, if you remember, that gets 2. So I'm going to hold it for 2 seconds. 1, 2, let go. And then the dotted half note gets 3 seconds. So I'm going to hold that guy for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember to hold it all the way through that second. So right when I got to 4, I let go. And then the last one is the whole note, which gets 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I let go because I held it all the way through the 4th second. Now I'm going to introduce another note, and this is going to be a little confusing, but I just want to expose you to this term, so then when we do finally get to it in the book that I recommended, you'll be a little familiar with it and it won't be too confusing. But if you're confused right now, that's okay. I kind of want you to be confused because I'm trying to give you an overview of everything, so when we do finally get into the book and start going over the pages, you'll kind of have a little preparation of what you're getting into. So this next note, we had the quarter note, we had the half note, we had the dotted half note, and the whole note that got 4 seconds. Now I'm going to introduce an eighth note. Now an eighth note gets a half a second. And so you might be confused because the entire time we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, how the heck do we count a half a second? Well, the easiest way to sort of think of it is, I don't know if you remember, but at least for me in elementary school, when we were at the water fountain and we just did PE, we would have to count, right? So each student would get, maybe 5 seconds or 7 seconds to drink water. And to give each student the proper amount of time, we wouldn't say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? We would use something with it. So at my school, we used Mississippi. So the teachers would say, okay, after you run the mile, each student gets 7 Mississippis at the water fountain. So you count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi. Okay, you're done. And then we kick the kid out, and then the next one gets a drink of water. Same thing in piano. So just like how you're counting Mississippis, or even when I was little, I used to play football with the kids across the street, and we would give the quarterback 7 alleys, so some time to, survey the field and throw the football. So we would count 7 alleys. So if I was rushing the QB, I would start counting, hike, 1 alley, 2 alley, 3 alley, 4 alley, 5 alley, 6 alley, 7 alley, and then I chase after the quarterback, right? But the reason why I'm talking about that is because it's just another way of expressing seconds, right? You're still giving them, 7 seconds, except you're counting it a different way. When we're at the water fountain, we're still giving the kids 7 seconds to drink water. We're just counting it a little bit of a different way. And so same thing in music, we can still count 1, 2, 3, 4, but we can count it a different way. And in music, we use and. So to give a full second for a quarter note, we would say 1 and, right? A half note gets 2 seconds. So we would say 1 and 2 and. And so that number and the and represent half of a second, right? Just like 1 alley or 1 Mississippi. So an eighth note, now we're going back to eighth notes now, an eighth note will get one of those. So if I played an eighth note as a C note, we would say 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It came only on half of the second. So in music we say beats, so the proper way to say it would say that an eighth note gets half a beat. But the way I like to teach is seconds. So you can say that an eighth note gets half a second. If that's a little confusing for you, don't worry. We're going to go over it later in the book. But now let's go over how to read the notes that are with the left hand. So just like we had a silly phrase with the right hand, right? If you remember that, we had face, put this in the spaces. That kind of rhymes face, space. And then we had every good boy does fine for the lines. Now for the left hand, we also have a silly phrase. In the spaces, I use all cows eat grass. And so the bottom space is correlated with this one. And A, all, the first letter of all is A. Cows is the next space, which is a C. Eat, which is the third space. All cows eat. That's an E note. And grass, which is that tippy top space, G, right? Okay, and same thing if you wanted to find out, let's say the second to the last line up there, we would do one of two things, right? You can do a little bit of alphabet math, so you know that the top space is a G, all cows eat grass, and the space right below it is E, all cows eat, right? And so we can kind of do a little bit of alphabet math, A, B, C, D, E, F. So that line, that second to the last line at the top is an F note. Or you can use another silly phrase, which is good burritos don't fall apart. So good represents the G note, right? That's that bottom line. Burritos, which is the B, right? That's the second line right above it. Don't starts with the letter D, so that's a D note that corresponds with this D here. Fall, that's that second to the last line. That was the one that we did alphabet math for, right? And apart starts with the letter A, so that top line is an A note. All right, and so that's how you would read the notes that are on the staff for the left hand. It kind of looks like a sad face. In music, we call it bass clef. So when you're looking at a piece of sheet music, if you see that treble clef, you can kind of associate that with the right hand. And if you see that bass clef, the sad face, the frowny face, you can associate that with the left hand.